Welcome to the Tattoo Marketing Podcast. On this week's episode, we have Adam Facenda. He is the owner of the amazing platform Keep the Fees, which I personally think every tattoo shop should be using for their booking, for their waivers, to take payments, their scheduling. Is an all-in-one platform built by tattoo artists for tattoo artists. He is also the owner of True Love Tattoo. Great episode, you guys. As always, enjoy.
Hey guys, I'm Adam Facenda from Keep the Fees. I also own a shop called True Love Tattoo for the past 16 years. I've been dedicating my life for the past 23 years to tattooing. I'm a second generation tattooer. I've also taught my brother and several other people. And I recently created a software company with the combined help of some really smart people, of course, not myself, to create Keep the Fees and a new KTF software that manages your entire shop from release forms to payouts. I mean, I could go on and on, but here, I'm sure that's what we'll talk about in a minute.
Yes, that's definitely. And that is one of the reasons I wanted to have you on here is the last probably 6 to 9 months, keep having shops that we were working with bringing up, oh, they're working with Keep the Fees. And so I started looking into you guys, and it is definitely a software that is much needed in the tattoo industry. There's a handful of CRMs, stuff like that, but none of them are built for tattoo shops and tattoo artists. And so again, looking through it, great idea, love it. Everyone that I know that's used it has had nothing but good things to say about it. What was the process of essentially getting started with this? It's such a different thing than most shop owners would do.
Right. So, like I said, I'm a second generation tattooer. At one point, I had 2 tattoo shops and a bar, and it was just like so much. Unfortunately, I had a heart attack because I stressed myself out so bad. And then I condensed down to one shop. A friend of mine came into town and he said, hey, I'd like to open up a shop with you. I had a shop in California. Let's do something here together. And I ended up buying a studio that my father actually worked at one time. I bought the guy out, and then I also inherited a business partner that I didn't want to have. No offense to him. I just don't like having business partners. And one day he's like, dude, what is taking you so long? I'm like, I'm doing payroll. He's like, why is it taking you so long? I'm like, these guys have chicken scratch for names, you know what I mean? And if you have more than one A name, it's like Adam and Alex and Andrew working in your shop. It's unbearable to go through. It's all paper and pen, And I always wanted to have something where I could schedule. This is way before anybody was doing any scheduling. Everyone was just trying to tap into Google and stuff like that. And my partner was actually, the partner I'm talking about was a tech guy. And he's like, dude, there's got to be an easier way. So we started building out something on Zoho. And the only unfortunate part of Zoho is it's open source. So there was no way for us to keep any legal building of any of it to our name. And then we ran into another roadblock that was being able to finance this whole thing, because it's not cheap to finance one of these things, between developers and whatnot. So he started developing it. And then I got to a point where he was like, yo, we need a massive amount of money to continue this on. And it kind of went dormant. So I just used the Zoho and a couple other things for release forms. And I'm like, there has to be something better. This is ridiculous for me to chase after a release form over here, or go and, look at an appointment on a Google or whatever. I was running like 5 different things just to run my campaign, or run my business, really. So we met with some gentlemen, Peter and Jeff Shavitz, and they had processing. And that was one thing that I said we need to combine in there, just to keep track of the money. That was really the necessity for me, was the fact that I spent hours doing paperwork just to pay people at 2 different shops. It would take 6 hours out of my day sometimes. And at $200 an hour, you can do the math. It wasn't mathing very right,
Yeah.
So this partner also taught me how to make more things automated. So that's what I wanted to create. So with the help of Peter and Shavitz, they brought in the zero processing fees. And that's where we really started. And they said, if you can prove to us that people would be interested in this, we'll help you build the incomplete software. And that's where it was really birthed from. 2016 is when we started developing it. And then the past year is when Keep the Fees really took over the project and really put so much more into it. And what's great is it's always growing too. I run my shop a certain way. Another guy across the street might run his shop a different way. A guy in, Toledo might run his shop a completely different way. And what we're learning is that there's so much more that other shops need, that we just keep building and building and building, just so we can be better than everybody else and be able to give every shop exactly what they need, whether it be customizing forms or just customizing the way they run their business, their day-to-day inventory, stuff like that, being able to break down commissions from a floor person to a tattooer, or however they want to break it down. If they want to give a little bit percentage to a floor person for the sale and a percentage to the artist, it does all this math for you. At the end of the week, you just click 2 dates, where you want to, what frame, what artist. You can go down to pick whatever artist or all of your artists, and it'll just give you all the information, whether they've gotten tips through cash or credit, if they've charged cash or credit. It breaks it all down. And then what I really love is you can also send that information right to your artist, so they know exactly where their week was, just in case something got missed, you know?
That's awesome. And a
Yeah.
really, really good way to do that. Cause I know, if you own a tattoo shop, you do bookkeeping. I do payroll
Oh,
for my company, and it is
yeah, you know.
absolute worst. It takes so long. I'm at the point where I have someone else doing it now, but for years I did it myself. And what a pain in the butt. Yeah, it seems like you've kind of combined everything that is needed, like the payroll stuff, the fact that there's no processing fees, because we're in
Yes.
February, we're getting ready to do taxes. I was just looking at my processing fees from Stripe last year, and good Lord, they got a lot of money.
They got a lot of money, and that was the thing. Whenever I met Peter and Jeff that year, we had a really good year. It's during COVID time, and we paid $43,000 in fees just to the credit card companies.
Good Lord.
Yeah, and that was a down payment on a house to me. That was a new car paid outright. So when they brought that to me, I was really worried about people giving pushback. But at the same time, this is right after COVID. Everyone's used to paying a fee. And what a lot of businesses, well, I shouldn't say, a lot of clients don't understand is the business is actually taking on that burden of that percentage. And what we found were a lot of the people, the clients that were coming in, they had the option to pay cash, of course, but they also didn't know about this fee. And once you tell them, like, yeah, I've been paying this fee, and business is, not always the greatest, at the end of the year, it all adds up. And they're like, no, no problem. Like, I think I should pay it. So in the past 3 years of having it in my shop, I think I've had one pushback, and it was on our shop minimum is $80, but it's usually 100, but we say 80. They got my floor people down to $60. And then when he went to go pay with a credit card, he's like, and there's a fee. This place is a ripoff. So he was already a cheapskate. And I'm like, those aren't the clients I wanted anyway. So, kick rocks. But that's it. One person after 3 years of having just the 0 fees in my shop. So it's helped out a lot of shops, especially if you're a shop doing high volume, which I think kind of works with what you're doing. You're trying to bring more volume of clients to us, and the more volume, the more money, the more fees you're paying. And a lot of people say, man, I can just write it off. It's a business write-off. I personally would like to write off a convention that I had to go to, and flights and all that stuff. I'd rather have all my money and I decide where that money is going to be written off, not because a processing company thinks it deserves a percentage of my money. And here's the kicker. You might say, okay, yeah, it's 2.2% here. That's what you're paying. But then there's always these hidden fees. And that was one thing my partner Peter is always stressed. There's nothing hidden. All of our prices are flat. We don't want you to be surprised by any extra pricing or anything like that. We want to be true to this industry. Like, that's my whole thing, is just being true to everybody out there, try to help other shops. Me personally, I'm just a traditional tattooer. I don't think I do anything special. I do good, clean tattoos, but I wanted to give back to what's given me so much in my life. Watching my father be a tattooer, me being able to teach my brother how to tattoo, and the life that it's given me and the livelihood it's given me, something I wanted to give back. I'm not going to recreate tattooing. I think too many people are trying to do that anyway.
Definitely. And I mean, what you've done is fantastic. And
Thank you.
like I said, I've heard nothing but good things. One, from your support all the way to you helping people set this up for your system. And that's one thing I don't think that is talked about enough. So I'll give you an example with our payment processor Stripe. Last year, I switched from a local credit union to an actual big bank, Chase. They froze my account for almost 2 months.
Yeah.
And there's no one you can talk to. There is nothing you can do about but sit there and wait for them to pay you out. It was horrible.
Yeah, I just had a gentleman. There's actually a friend of mine now. We became friends through Keep the Fees. He's a tattooer in Tampa or St. Pete. And he literally just texted me. He's like, bro, my batch didn't go through last night. And I was like, all right, hold on 1 second. Let me contact my team. Like, you're literally contacting the founder via text. And I had it all handled for him. It turns out that he put a tattoo after the batch out time, because with every system, there's a batch out time. Depending what state you're at, it goes a little bit later. That's how banks work. So he did a tattoo after that threshold. And so what happens? It just winds up on the next day or the next time it pays out. But how awesome is that to just be able to like text your homie, like, hey man, there's something wrong with my money. Like, give me 2 minutes. Let me figure this out for you. You know, you can't do that with Stripe. You can't do that with Square. You can't do that with any processor. And I'll say this too, not to beat up these other guys that are doing these CRMs for tattoo shops. It's hard to get a hold of them. We found that a lot of these guys have built exactly what they're going to build. They're not trying to build any more for the industry. They think they have enough. They have enough clients and stuff like that, and try to get a hold of support. It's like send an email here or whatever. You literally, my phone number is still on our Instagram for you to reach out to me. You can reach out to us at any point and actually get a human that is involved in the business, you know, not just some guy that's off seas, like answering with a virtual call center. You know what I mean? It's like literally one of us that you're talking to. You know, we're growing rapidly, but we're still trying to stay a small company so we can be really involved with the community.
And that's huge. And that's I'll say one thing that we've always been able to do to keep it small is like if you want support, you can book a call with us within 30 minutes or jump on a Zoom, and like it's just so helpful for people. Like that's the kind of stuff they want. And I do know a lot of these people that have built CRMs have built it on top of an existing CRM, and I won't go too deep into that. But and honestly, that was the first thing when I heard about Keep the Fees. Is I looked and I was like, "Is this another template for this system?" And it's like, "Oh no, this is not. This is completely custom built. This is amazing."
Yes. I'm very proud of the guys that we have on our team, and just a little teaser. Like no one's really heard this yet. We've been talking about it, but our applications are now in past development and now we're in testing. So the app is going to hit pretty soon.
That's
so
awesome.
you won't even need, we're focusing on is you won't even need a terminal in your shop. It'll literally be tap to pay. You can get it off your iPad or your cell phone or whatever device you want, or your computer. It doesn't matter. We're trying to make it so streamlined for, like I said, it's so crazy. Like I always thought my shop, this is the way we run it. This is how everyone runs their shop. But I left out people that just travel and do tattoo conventions, or guys that jump around from shop to shop throughout the season, you know, and like being able to provide all these tools for, let's be honest, the tattoo industry isn't very technically educated when it comes to, you know, doing all this stuff. To give it so simple in the palm of their hand wherever they go and still be developing for them. So they can say, hey, so this is our rule of thumb. Keep the Fees with the processing and including the software. Our thoughts are, if someone has requested this at least 4 times, that means there's probably about 200 other people that will need this, and maybe the guys that are using our system haven't thought about this yet. So let's put it in development. You know, it always comes in like what we're working on next, you know, rises to the top. We always take the top and work our way down to the bottom. But sometimes when you can actually message us on the help center, which is funny because there's really a person behind there. It's no AI. I push so hard against us being AI right now because it's so unique to the questions that we're getting and then the feedback that we're getting. Every time you put feedback in there, it's actually cataloged. And like I said, once we hit a threshold of 4 to 5 people saying that I would really like this for my company, then we decide whether or not something we can do really fast, something that we need to work on. And then we also will go down and test and ask all of the people that are using our system if they would be interested in it. Because if it makes sense for them to make their lives easier, to make more money, we're going to do it, you know? Where like some of these guys are just using templates and like, nope, that's it. You're stuck in this template. Sorry.
Yep. And that was one of the things that impressed me so much is because I told you I had an idea. I think this would be great. It's what we do for clients, sending out a text message to get reviews after someone fills out a waiver. And you got Peter on the phone, you got one of your developers, all of us on a Zoom. And like, I don't know any other company that would actually do that or even take that serious, even though it's, I think, a great idea. Our clients love it.
No, we did take it serious. No, we did. And our conversation went really, really well. I actually want to talk to you after this about setting up my shop and working with you, because I do see a lot of success in what you're doing. And, you know, like a business relationship with you as well. You know, I think that it'd be wonderful if we merged everything together and just help these guys make as much money as possible. Yeah, I mean, I think guys like us need to like collaborate and really try to help these guys that want to help themselves. And I think that's the biggest thing, right? So a lot of these guys like, I don't need it. You got these old school dudes, you know, like, okay, so you don't want to help yourself. That's fine. But I've ran 22 people in my shop before, between piercers and tattooers. and having to feed that shop constantly is a battle, and man, it gets fatiguing after a while, you know. And I think what you're doing, like right now, I'm doing so much. I need a guy like you know. And I know there's tons of other guys out there. We get asked all the time, do you help us with generating leads? And I'm like, no, it's just to keep your shop organized. Like that's a whole nother animal in itself. So meeting you was awesome. Like at first I thought you were doing exactly what we were doing. I know we talked about this, you know. And I'm like,
Yeah.
well, I think it's a conflict of interest if I get on your podcast, you know.
Mm.
But I think without a doubt that this is something that would help every shop, whether you're new or old, you know, be successful. And that's really what I want everyone around me to be, is successful. Everyone I meet, you know, except for the guy who opens up a shop across the street from me, which is happening again.
That used to be your apprentice or something like that.
Yeah. No, it's this guy I just heard the other day.
Uh,
This guy is opening like in the worst part of our neighborhood with no parking. And his whole
Ugh.
thing is, well, we'll do it cheaper than them. And I'm like, bro, you know how many people have tried that on me? You know,
Yeah.
I've been in business for 16 years. I've watched many of them open and then close, you know?
Yep.
So, but yeah, I think everybody else that I know, like, man, there's so many great people out there and so many great tattooers out there that just want to tattoo. And that's the whole premise. So when you asked, maybe that would have been a simpler, easier way to answer your question was, I just want a tattoo. And I think every tattoo shop that is ran by a tattooer, that's all they really want to do. None of us really wanted to be business owners. It looks shiny, but then
Mhm.
you get into it,
Oh, yeah.
it's not so shiny, you know?
Yep. It is essentially working 80 hours for yourself so you don't have to work 40 hours in somebody else's shop for
Yeah.
about maybe a little more money.
Yeah.
In some cases,
then-
not.
And then sometimes when it gets really slow, you're working to keep everybody in a place to be able to work, you know?
Yep.
I've talked to a couple guys, and you know, a lot of guys have been closing their shops lately because I just don't want the headache. And man, do I ever feel that? I'm down to like I think 7 or 8 guys.
Mhm.
And a smaller shop is always the better shop. I could write a book on what size shop this works and where it works. You know what I mean? Like I don't understand these guys that run like, you know, 15 people in one shop. The headache of
It's a
trying to
lot.
keep up. But once again, with Keep the Fees, it makes it a little bit easier, you know.
Hey, real quick, everybody, if you are enjoying this, you want to hear more of these, if you could do us a huge favor in whatever platform you are listening to us on, if you could go ahead and, again, if you're enjoying it, leave us a review. Let us know what you like about it. It is absolutely huge to us to get that kind of feedback and let us know the kind of content you want to hear. And yeah, enjoy the rest of the episode. And that's another thing I wanted to kind of jump into, because when I talked to, so I had actually 2 phone calls yesterday with shop owners that are thinking about working with us.
Okay.
And they both asked about a software to like kind of keep everything going. I was like, check out Keep the Fees. Like it's a good company for that. But if you mention something like CRM, like their eyes just kind of gloss over. They have no
Yeah.
clue what you're talking about. So can you kind of explain, what that is and why that's so important?
So to be honest with you, I still struggle sometimes like explaining CRMs to people because I couldn't even wrap my mind around it. To me, it's all about software, right? Like it looks like software. I'm a big dummy, right? When it comes down to it, I'm really good at business and I can see things that like other people don't see, and like, you know, filling gaps and stuff like that. For some reason, I've always had that, whether I worked for myself or my father or anybody else. I always see like I developed a whole line of a manufacturing line for an alternator refrigeration company, and I was 21, but that was the youngest kid working there. But I'm like, no, this needs to go here, there, and we went from producing 80 units to 580 units within 3 months of me being there. So I've always been able to see that. So CRM, I mean, in layman's terms, is just a software that kind of just organizes all the stuff that you don't realize needs to be organized. I'm terrible at describing it. That's why we have developers. You know, I would say it's like I always tell these guys, it's like having a manager and not having to pay them.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
essentially keeps track of where
Essentially,
everybody
that's what it
is.
is. But it's all digital. It's all automated. I mean, it's just like it's the things that we don't think about when we're hustling, you know? When you're in the grind and you're like, oh shit, I got to pay this, I got to pay this, I got to pay this. Okay, I got some money, I got this and that. And then at the end of the month, you're like, oh shit, I got to fucking do all this paperwork. Or it lands on your wife or your significant other, or you're at the end of the year like, oh shit, like I don't know where anything's at, you know? I don't know if I have all the paperwork for the health department. This system, you literally can put it all in there. It's captured. It's there for life, Yeah, I don't really know how to explain the CRM to anybody either. I
No,
mean,
fair.
pretty much a dummy, you know what I mean? I just know that I need these tools and I find people to help make them,
Yeah. No, and
Yeah.
it's been doing a great job. And if I'm correct, like you can bring all of your clients into one place,
Yeah.
make sure, because that's one of the biggest thing that surprised me, because I come from an entrepreneurial background and going into starting working with tattoo shops. Like I had friends that owned shops and was in marketing, and that's how I essentially got into it. And obviously I like tattoos.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they didn't know like what client was where in what process or where they came from,
Yeah.
and the amount of clients that fall through the cracks. Like I was at my buddy's shop a week ago and the phone rang 4 times when I was there and nobody picked it up. And as a marketer, that's like, I'm like, my eyes twitching. I'm like, is somebody going to pick that up?
Yeah.
But just a good way so these people don't fall through the cracks, because it's
Yeah.
like,
Well, that's the thing, right? You're busy, you're hustling. You're not
Yep.
thinking about that phone call.
Yep.
You're thinking about, oh, I'm making this money right now. I need to devote this time to this client because that's what they're paid. That's how it's always been for me. You pay for my time. I give you 100% of my time. The only person I pick up my phone for is my fiance. That's it, And then my clients know that because if she's calling, there's something wrong. Everybody else doesn't matter, and there's those little things that we don't pay attention to while we're tattooing or in the mix of, trying to run our shop is like you're saying, is those little holes. And with the software that we have, it does collect all their information. And it was really great because you can go into their history and see when the last time they were tattooed. I did a thing that we have a part of our system that'll tell you, I break down my shop appointments 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hour, 4 hour, and I can go and see like what are we booking the most of? What are the days that we're booking the most of it? Like I can go and find all this stuff, and then I can reach out to clients that have been here like, majority of the time. Like if I decide, hey, I want to reach out to them and say, hey, I'm giving you a deal, to finish this fucking tattoo, like, cause it's slow, come in on a Tuesday, I have that ability. I can look at all their stuff. I can look at every one of their request forms. That's another thing that we have is request forms, and it links it all to their profile. Once they start, or your client starts a profile with Keep the Fees system, it's there for life. So you can look at them as long as you have the system. You can look at everything they've ever done, whether they've tipped or not. You can put notes in there. You can actually keep up if you wanted to put notes in, like, had a great session with this guy. We talked about his cats. He's a cat lover. Don't forget to bring that up. Ask him about his aunt and all these things, these notes that the client won't see. But it gives so much more value to your relationship with your client. And I think that's one of the greatest things or not one of the greatest, not great at all. One of the worst things about this new generation is it's very digital. It's very social media. It's fast, quick. Like it's just serving each other, but no one's actually getting to know each other. Where a guy like me, I've built clientele and had clientele for 20 years. I still tattoo people from 20 years ago, if not their children or their grandchildren, because the connection I made. And these little notes putting in there, maybe you don't remember that conversation you had it, but those notes in there will make you a little bit more attached to them. And then when they come in, you'll be able to continue the conversation you had. And man, that feels so good. It's like when you go to a barber and you guys are fucking talking about shit. And he's like, yeah, you're a regular guy. You're going every 3 weeks to get your haircut or every month to get your haircut. And hey, how's your sister? How's this? How's that? That feeling, I don't care who you are and whatever business you walk into, when you have that feeling, you feel very loyal to that company. You feel very loyal to that person. And I think that is a thing that's missing right now with a new generation of kids, that they've been so separated with contact, one-on-one contact with people other than to tattoo. It's their texting, they're on DMing each other, not really having that what's the word for it? Building that bond and that relationship with the client, And I think what you're doing with being able to reach out to them right away and like create this funnel of business for these tattooers, if they can include putting some personality behind it and getting like building a relationship with them, they will be successful for the rest of their lives. That's the reason why I've been successful,
Yeah, it's absolutely huge building that relationship. Like we do a segment of this podcast where I bring on essentially clients, people that have been in, mostly covered tattoos, have had a good amount of experience. And every single one of them has said essentially that the reason they have their main artist that they keep going back to is that they've built a bond with them, a friendship. Like probably 70% of my stuff has been done by a local guy because he's a good friend now. Like that's huge.
Yeah. Most of my friends were once just clients, you know?
Yeah. So
Mm.
being able to build that and bring it up and remember, because, as a tattoo shop, especially if you're a busy one, you see a decent amount of people. Being able to
Yeah.
just see like where the conversation left off last time, or if there was something important to them, that's
Or,
huge.
or the guy or girl, I should say, hasn't been in your shop in 3 years. And you're like, man, who is this guy? Like, what did I tattoo on him? Their system, you can see that. You can actually, and if you put the notes in there, you're like, oh yeah, we talked about this and that. I remember this guy.
Yeah.
I'm terrible about that. Like I said, over 2 decades of tattooing, you've met a lot of people. And it's funny with me. I have such a memory to the tattoo and not the face. So the client will come in and like show me the tattoo. I'm like, oh, what's up, John? There's a story that I was at a bar one night and I looked over at this tattoo on this girl's shoulder and it was a portrait of a dog. And it was black and gray. And I'm like, wow, that thing is solid. Like, I wonder where she got it. And I tapped on her shoulder and I said, hey, who did your tattoo? It looks really nice. And she's like, ah, you're funny. And I'm like, no, seriously, like, who did your tattoo? And she said, you did, silly. And I'm like, you're kidding me. It was just, but the thing is, it was on her shoulder. I don't look at her face, and I'm looking at the tattoo.
Yeah.
So you see the tattoo. And then I was like, oh yeah. And your dog's name is this, right? And it was just like, that happens. Not everybody has that. You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
Not everybody remembers they have a client on Thursday at 2:00 either, so having a system in place works, and like I'll go on and on about it, man. It's made my life a lot easier, I'll tell you that. Right now I'm having a phone issue. My phone calls aren't going through to the shop, so I forwarded my phone calls to the shop line to my personal phone, sorry. And I can just jump on my phone and like book people in right then and there. Like,
That's awesome.
I'm not even in the shop, you know what I mean? I'm like, that's what you do, right?
Yeah.
So like, but it's just awesome to be able to have that, and it's automatically communicating to my artists too. Like, hey, you just got a booking for this, and I can put a little note in it. Contact was Adam. This is what they want. Reach out to them, because it collects all their information, their phone number, their email address. It's a lot easier than writing everything in a fucking book. That's for damn sure. How many shops do you deal with that are still there?
I would say at least 60 to 65% are still paper and.
Oh man, we got to get them over to keep the fees, dude.
Yes.
I mean, we'll give them some free months just to like let them understand how much easier their lives can be. I have a friend, he's actually been on one of the Ink Masters, Chris Blinston, and he's so hard-headed. I'm like, bro, like, let me just get you on this system. They literally have those lined notebooks as how they're keeping their appointments. I'm like, dude, how long have you been tattooing? This is where you're still at, You're using an iPad to design your tattoo, but you're still like writing everything on like pencil and paper and erasing things. I'm like, how do you keep up? You're like, that's why I hire people. I'm like, you got 3, 4 people. No offense, I don't want to put anybody out of a job, but the system can do more than what 3 people can do in an entire month,
And that's one of the great things about it is, first of all, keep the fees extremely affordable. I think it's about $100 a month. And
well, actually, the entry level with processing, all in, unlimited everything, for I think 1 to 2 artists, I think we're at, or 1 to 3 artists, is $69 a month. And then your next one is 3 to I think 7. I'm not sure because we changed the prices a couple times, but literally they're maxed out. If you have multiple shops, it's $139. That includes your processing, unlimited release forms, unlimited booking, it's literally unlimited, right? And if you have second shop, I think like the add-on is just the processing part of it, which I think it's another $69 or $29 a month. I'm not sure. As we get better deals from the processing company, we just pass it on to our clients. You know what I mean?
That's awesome.
So it's very affordable, because I've seen some of these systems, and I'm sure you have too, where it's like, yeah, it's cheap. It's only like $50, but it doesn't do the processing. So we're going to put another $50 on there. And then, oh, you want to add a second person? And that's another 50, another 50. You have 5 guys in your shop, you're at $250, and our system already surpasses everything that their system does. They might have better marketing. I don't know. Or these guys just don't know there's other people out there, so.
I think that's a big part of it is anybody I've talked to that doesn't use you guys hasn't heard of you yet. Yeah. Everybody I know that has heard of you actually uses you, which says a ton. And again, is still with you. And like, the reason I heard about you was from a client that was super
Yeah.
happy. So if somebody wants to get started, because I know, again, like you said, most shop owners and artists maybe aren't the most tech savvy. There's always the, I guess, I don't know if I call it a fear, but a worry about setting up a system like this being super complicated, taking forever. And I've heard that's not the case with you guys.
Right. We've had some really big shops sign on with us, with multiple locations. And I think our team, it took them about 2 weeks. It all depends on how organized the person is. Now, if it's somebody that's completely messy and never done this before, it's going to be a little foreign for them, right? They're not used to giving up this information, or maybe they just don't have this information. But I mean, we have a team for everything. There's a lot of questions we'll be asking if you don't know them, if you don't have them on a Google Doc or anything like that, or even if you have just a paper of your release form or printout of your release form or printout of your aftercare, because our system sends aftercare after the person checks out with you. We do all that for you. We'll sit with you side by side. The bigger the shop, the more time it might take because there's more data that has to be put into the system. But we take care of all that for all of our clients when they first start up. And then we're always there for them down the road. My biggest thing is making it easy enough for any tattoo shop owner to be able to go in there and understand where things belong and how to operate it and make it functional for them. But I mean, I've had shops, the smaller shops they're up and running in about 3 days. And I've had major shops take about 2 weeks because they wanted to add so many custom things. But right now, I think we're on an average of 5 days to set up, start to finish.
Good. That's pretty darn quick. And I mean, a big part of that too is, like you said, you have people that come in and actually help the shop. I mean, I've used, I don't know, in my years, more CRMs than I can imagine. And you go in there and you're just like, I don't even know.
I don't even know where to start.
I don't even know what to do. This is
exactly
insane.
And I that was the main thing. I'm like, listen, I kept saying, it's not that we're dummies. We just work with our hands. You can't ask a carpenter how to fix a car. You know what I mean? It's the fact that that's not part of our lives. Our lives has always been rallied around art and creating and all that stuff. And then you want to put us in little boxes and it doesn't really work for us, So we created the easiest boxes for any tattooer out there. And like I said, we wanted people to get up and running as fast as possible and start saving with their money and organizing their lives and seeing the success from it. That's why we spend so much time supporting whoever gets on. I mean, there's some shops out there that are so big that we literally send a team to your shop and they will sit with you for 2 or 3 days, talking to all the artists, figuring out exactly what they want and how they want to run their schedule, because everyone's schedule is different. Sometimes they want to have blackout times, or they don't want to do certain days, certain things. Like, my people come out there and will sit with you and do that. It depends on the size of the shop. Now, if you're a shop that's a 2-man shop and you really aren't busy at all, most of this can be done just through a Zoom or a phone call. But really, we just set it all up for you, and then we circle back and make sure you understand everything that's in there, and that's it.
Awesome. And it does sound like, because something we have faced when we are trying to get it so people can book in-person consultations, it feels like every artist at every shop has their own booking thing, and it's a
mess.
nightmare. It's a nightmare.
It's a mess. Yeah, we've made it so that so my shop has a request form sheet. So we have all these forms that anybody can create whatever form they want. And then we made it so that way that any of the artists can make their own individual ones, because that's what we have. We had an issue, like they want to really be granular in their questioning, like they really want to know everything about it. Me, I'm like, how big do you want it? Send me some reference, send me a picture of the body part that you want to tattoo, and what are you looking for as an investment in your tattoo. I keep it really simple on my end because I'm funneling these clients to the artist. After that, the artist, it's on them to get the rest of the questions. But if one of my artists wants to have one that's like, here's 12,000 different options, and you put this client through this poor essay of a questionnaire, that's on them. But like you're saying, like you have that, like they have all these critiques of how they want to do things. Cool. Well, we made it so it fit your needs, and I think that wasn't even my doing. That was literally so many people. We would go out to so many shops and like, well, can it do this? Can it do this? Can it do this? And like, you hear it enough times, you're like, well, if it's a need, we'll make it,
Yeah. That's awesome that you guys take feedback from the artists and actually make changes. Cause
Yeah.
again, it shows that you actually care about how well your software works and that it does what everybody wants, which
Yeah,
again, a lot of companies don't.
yeah. I mean, just like you're really proud of what you're doing for tattoo shops, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure they are very thankful for what you're doing.
Mhm.
And I'm sure you've had other guys that are like, no, this is fucking bullshit. This
Oh
sucks.
yeah.
Yeah.
Of course.
Right. Right. But I find that some of those guys are just, that's how they are in life. They just like, everything sucks. I'm so much smarter than everybody else. And then they're struggling and they don't understand why they're struggling. And it's everybody else's fault but theirs,
Yep.
And trust me, we've had people that are like, they're like, oh, this isn't what I wanted. This is what I signed up for. Like, okay. Because we don't even do long contracts. We do month to month. If you don't like it, that's it. If you have a terminal, send it back. That's it.
Mhm.
We believe so much in our product that that's where we're at,
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, Adam, I've had you for almost an hour. Are there any
Oh, wow.
other things I know you want to hit really quick about
Yeah.
it? Like, I do think one thing that I love that you guys do is when somebody signs out or checks out, they get a text a couple days later asking about like the healing process, stuff like that. And that is huge to people. That is giant. We actually had somebody on our podcast, that's a client, say
Yeah.
the artist reaching out a couple days later was like super thoughtful and it meant the world to them, and being able to, it's not all artists are going to do that. If you automate it from your shop, it's a huge thing to do. So
Yeah. I literally, it was after our conversation when we had the talk about the Google review thing, I added that into so it's an aftercare email that goes out to everyone so that way we're compliant with the state and everything. So I literally put in there, like, if you had a great experience, please do me a favor, use this link to give me a positive review. And I was like, fuck, man, like, why haven't I been doing this? I've had this system in my shop for a year.
Yeah.
I literally was texting people like, hey, like you're saying, like following up with them, like, hey, like it was really cool, tattooing you. I love the piece, the future, want anything, blah, 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 and then if they said something positive back, like, okay, hey, if you can do me a favor, positive reviews are the best tips in the world because they keep giving, Yeah. So there's so many features, man. It's hard. I always just say, try to get a demo, go to our website, get a demo scheduled. Depending on your questions, it could take anywhere from 20 minutes to an hour, kind of like a podcast. It's just how much you get really involved in wanting to learn about what it is. I've done some of the demos with some of the people, and I just ask what your pain points are. I ask you, who are you using for this? What are you using for that? Blah, blah, blah. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how our system works and helps and it's cheaper. And then after that, I'm going to show you all these other cool little things that we add to it, like the reminder text and the after reminder text and all that stuff. And I mean, it's just forever growing, and you and I don't know if we want to let the cat out of the bag, but you and I are talking about putting our systems together. That way they can piggyback off of each other. Maybe your clients use our system and we're going to push to all of our clients and on our Instagram and anywhere we can that, you want to get more business, you want to do business the right way, the smart way, please hit this guy up. Jesse's the best, So yeah, man, that's it. I think we've touched a lot, and maybe we can join and talk about it again in the future when we're working more together in the future.
Definitely, man. I'm super excited about it. And then real quick, where can people go to learn more about the software, like Instagram, Face, or URL, stuff like that?
So it's keepthefees.com. And if you want to do a test with it, you get to use the system test free. You want to go around and just, explore yourself. You can open up an account at you can open up an account at ktf.keepthefees.com, and they'll have 30 days just to play around with it. They won't be able to use any processing or anything like that. They'll be able to understand the system on their own. And then they go to the website and just book a demo and we can get you started. You can also just hit us up on Instagram or any one of our social medias, and we're there available for everybody.
Perfect. Adam, I massively appreciate it. Thank you so much.
I appreciate you too. Have a great day, my friend.
You too. Bye.